Another distinction here, though, Matt, is that for people that are not acquainted with Lincoln Riley in regards to his public persona and just watch the football games, here's a young guy that leads a prolific offense at Oklahoma. He goes to USC, so you would expect, okay, gregarious kind of guy in the Pete Carroll mode. But that's not necessarily the case. If anything, and we just finished up a Oklahoma record, Brent Venables being the defensive-minded guy, you would figure him to be a little bit more staunch and conservative. And when I say conservative, I don't mean politically. I mean from a communication standpoint, but it's the opposite. Brent Venables has taken Oklahoma by storm in regards to being open and transparent about the program and his approach, where Lincoln Riley is very measured and limited in his communication.
Yeah, it is one of those things where, you look at, the surface, and you look at kind of the track record, and you think that, hey, Lincoln Riley, wide open offense, innovative, fun. And you associate, it's easy to just kind of automatically associate that with his personality. Yeah, but that's not true. And I think one of the things that USC fans really appreciate about Lincoln Riley thus far, just a few months into his tenure, how no nonsense he is. That, he and the rest of the USC staff, they don't hand out praise like cotton candy. And that was one of the big problems with Clay Helton, that he would praise players before they had earned praise. He would say good things about players, also about coaches, when player development wasn't actually happening. Next week is going to be the NFL draft, and we're going to write a bunch of familiar stories at Trojan's Wire, and you're going to hear it across the country about how Clay Helton didn't send large quantities of players to the NFL draft. He didn't have a lot of representation on day one and day two in those first 3 rounds, and that's a lack of player development. And one of the things that's been making the rounds the past week here at USC has been how Corey Foreman basically is looking at this year as a second freshman season. That, last year was a total washout. He just didn't get coaching that he deserved, that he needed to grow and evolve. And Lincoln Riley has said a lot about how, we need to push players, but, when you push players, that also has to come from a place of believing in the player, that when you push that player, when you're hard with a player, it comes from a place of trust. And so all of this underlies the idea that Clay Helton did not have the trust of his players. Now, players who are on the 2021 USC roster, like, they liked playing for him, but it was just at a very superficial level. Like, they liked the guy. He was a nice guy. Clay Helton is a nice guy. He is a pleasant person in one-on-one settings. If you have a beer with him, like, he's a very amiable fellow. But in terms of, doing the business of coaching, he would not hold players accountable. And so Lincoln Riley is that, you could use many different terms. Maybe taskmaster is a little too harsh, but no nonsense, I think, really gets to the heart of what Lincoln Riley has been at USC. And it does get to your point about how it's not fun and games. This is serious business. And he really is trying to create a culture in which you earn something before we praise you. You have to go through the paces and do the work, show evolution. Then we will acknowledge that. That's what that whole gold plating thing was with, the helmet decal. You don't earn that helmet decal until you've actually, shown that you're improving. And so, like, we're not going to give you anything before you actually deserve it. And it just reinforces that Lincoln Riley, behind the sunny veneer and behind that fun offense and a lot of the things that are part of his reputation, underneath there's a stone cold competitor there, and it does come out with a hard edge.